Hi, and welcome to Budget Model Railways. And we're back with N. Um, so the double O's been quite good fun in the shed. It's come on really well while Doug's at home. But I've always had a lot of interest in N, and I realised that in N I could combine quite a lot of the factors I want in a model railway in quite a short space. I knew that I could get down to 6-inch radius, 12-inch diameter. But I needed to use Pico set track because the Kato points are too big to cram everything in. So what I got Doug to do was print me these. So these are a 3D printed track setter. So basically they enable me to do that. They enable me to lay the track with a very even curve. Because as I discovered in Double O, when you get down sub first radius, unless you get the curves very smooth, things do tend to derail. In fact, this has worked really well. Most of my N-gauge stuff will go around this because it's a gentle curve, and the wagons don't derail, you don't get coupling lock. So that's a 12-inch diameter, 50% less than set track, which first radius set track in N-gauge Pico is 18-inch. So that's substantially smaller. In fact, if I get my tape measure out, the layout for the people that like these things is 44 inches. It's just gone flying off the end there. By I can't 16 inches. Couldn't read my tape measure, it's worn out. Oh, look at that, just caught the loco. There we go. So it's quite compact, but it has got a lot of running potential. And actually, this was something that was in the back of my mind. And we went to Peakorama down in Beer in Devon on holiday. And if you've never been, do go. The shop is great, but they also have some really good layouts there. And they have a 009 layout called, I believe it's Asson Wen. I'm sure somebody will correct me. And this is where this track plan idea came from. The curves, the river, and I'm going to have a riverbed going out through there. The 2-road goods yard, which means effectively that there I can use as an Inglenook shunting puzzle. I was doing it for about half an hour earlier just to test, and it works just like an Inglenook shunting puzzle. Now, one of the other things, a big change for me, is I was looking at a lot of track plans in books and was always a bit bemused by very simple track plans that then had extensive fiddle yards. And of course, it's only been having had a fiddle yard in the shed that I realised actually in a reduced space, rather than trying to make lots of passing loops at the front, it's actually easier to have them a very simple scenic area with a fiddle yard at the back. And what that one will allow me to do is I'm going to use these two as the storage roads because they're longer, and this is the running road. So it'll enable me to have 2 different locos on there. And I can store my diesel rail buses or a short train in there. And obviously, if I want, I can hold one in the goods siding as well. And as I say, I was playing around earlier and there's a lot of operational potential out of this. Now, this is a slightly unusual layout for me because I actually planned it. So that's the AnyRail software. I did it as a combination. So I used the 12-inch curves from Kato track and the rest was Pico set track. So I then knew that it would fit the board that I had. So say unusual for me because I have actually planned it. Now the board is half of an old shelving unit, so it's a bit like a hollow board, quite lightweight but very robust. And then I just used what I got. So this is cardboard packaging and foam board. And the reason for this is because I want to cut the riverbed out here. And I'm going to cut that out now that I know the bridge. The bridge is actually one of the oldest model railway things I have. I bought it at the very beginning when we tinkered with N. And that will fit there really nice. And it's on roofing felt as ballast mat because that gives me something a bit more to screw and pin the track into, which has worked quite well. Pleased with the building. So that's the Metcalfe kind of rundown workshop building that they do, and they make I think it's called a crofter's cottage. It comes in 2 parts, so I put one part on there as the goods part of the industrial building. And then I've taken the other one and added it to their Settle and Carlisle shelter to make a little station master's house to fit in the station. Now this will all be very freelance, okay? It's not as such UK outline. Obviously I've got the pocket line range, which is what the layout's designed for. So I've got the steam loco and coaches which can run round. I've also got our 3D printed diesels, and I have a couple of those, two slightly different versions. The main difference being that these lost their couplings. I had some spare couplings, but they stuck out too far, so I 3D printed some thick buffer beams. So I've got 3 of those actually. I've got 4 of the steeple cab locos, and I've got a very nice Arnold loco, an 060. I've got 2 Arnold 060 locos that I got cheap. So I'm not short, but I will put catenary on it so that I can run the electric. But it will enable me to have a compact layout in here on my desk. And now we're getting into the winter months, that I'll be able to watch locos run around, and I'll be able to run several different locos, and I'll be able to shunt, and I'll be able to shunt quite extensively because I can run a loco in, do some shunting, watch it go round, pull it in, bring another loco in. Quite taken with the Metcalfe buildings. I'm going to run a road and a hill down here. So with the river and the hills, it'll all look very much in the landscape rather than on the landscape. And obviously it would be 4 times bigger if you did it in 00, which I haven't got room for. And it will live on its end, tucked in there between the freezer and my desk. So it's all very convenient. Now, it's only powered by 2 wires that go in there, and that's all I need. I'm only going to run 1 loco at a time. So by putting the power there, it powers all the fiddle yard and the sidings, believe it or not, with just 2 wires. And just using, as always, one of our PWM controllers shoved over the back there. So I know N doesn't appeal to everybody, but increasingly I have an interest in it. It works for me. I like the 00, and we're very fortunate in the large shed that we can run 00. The reality is, if I was starting again, I would probably do N, and I would do it with the pocket line, because at the moment the Kato pocket line is the only economic budget way of doing model railways. And with things like the Metcalfe buildings, in 00 Metcalfe buildings are too big. For some reason in N they don't seem to have that problem. So there we go. I know it won't interest everybody, but I am going to quietly work on it. I've got the 00 to do as well now. So both projects will proceed a little bit slower because I've got 2 projects to work on. But they're 2 projects that interest me and that I have a plan for. So I know they'll progress quite well. So excuse me if I'm lisping through this. I have a false tooth in the bottom front of my mouth that has a bridge. And I was only eating a sandwich the other day, not a toffee apple like when I was a kid, which is usually how you lost your teeth. And it's come out. So I'm lisping a bit at the moment, which is quite good fun doing Zoom interviews for the Army cadets the other night, lisping quite badly. So there we are. Excuse if the light's poor, it's getting late. I thought I'd do this at the end of the day. I thought I had a bit of time to just sit and film it. So there we go. Thank you very much, as always, for watching, and we'll see how this one progresses.